Let me ask you this. How would you react if you woke up and found your house full of human blood? It happened to one couple in the 1980s, and they haven't figured out who the blood belonged to this day. And have you ever heard about the shark arm murders? It included one human arm coughed up by a shark in an aquarium. Can you imagine? Now, if you'd like to know more, stick around, because today we've gone all out to find you everything from baffling disappearances and unusual deaths to horrific murders. I'm Mike with List 25, and here are the 25 most famous unsolved mysteries. 25. The Mystery of the Circleville Letters. Starting in the late 70s, a series of anonymous letters accused residents of Circleville, Ohio of various wrongdoings, including infidelity, embezzlement, and even violence. Two residents, Mary Gillespie and Paul Fresher, bore the brunt of the harassment. In 1982, amidst a contentious divorce, Paul's wife Karen Sue Fresher accused him of being the anonymous author. Handwriting analysis offered no definitive answer, and the letters continued even after Paul died in 2005. Investigations looked at other suspects, including Mary Gillespie herself, but the culprit was never identified. 24. The Keddie Cabin Murders. In 1981, a nightmare shattered a family vacation in Keddie, California. 4 people were found bound and killed inside their cabin. Adding to the mystery, the only survivor, a young girl, vanished for days before reappearing with amnesia. Decades of investigation haven't untangled the truth. Theories have ranged from a robbery gone wrong to personal vendettas, with some witnesses pointing to a drifter seen in the area. Today, the demolished cabin site is said to be haunted, and some paranormal groups have become particularly interested in it. 23. The 8-Day Bride. Honeymoons are supposed to be fun, right? Or is that just me? Christina and Jack Kettlewell got married in 1971 and traveled to Severn Falls, Ontario for their honeymoon. 8 days later, disaster struck. The cabin they were staying in caught fire, and while Jack escaped with minor injuries, Christina mysteriously disappeared. Hours later, her body was found face down in shallow water nearby, but it was free from burns or signs of trauma. Was it an unfortunate accident, a suicide, or something far more sinister? Despite extensive investigations, the cause of Christina's death remains unknown. 22. The Shark Arm Murders. In 1935, a captive tiger shark coughed up a tattooed human arm at the Coogee Aquarium. Yeah, as in regurgitated an arm. That arm belonged to James Smith, the small-time criminal, kicking off a bewildering murder investigation. Despite conflicting witness accounts and the strange distance between the shark's capture and Smith's disappearance, authorities arrested his associate, James Jimmy Taylor. However, Taylor walked free because of a lack of evidence. Over 80 years have since passed, and the crime remains one of Australia's most famous cold cases. 21. The Jamison family disappearance. In 2009, the Jamison family vanished without a trace. Bobby, Sherry Lynn, and their daughter Madison left their truck behind on a mountain near land they planned to buy. Despite extensive searches, they remained missing for years. Then, in 2013, hunters discovered their skeletal remains. But the mystery only deepened. How did they die? And why? Conflicting witness accounts and a lack of answers continue to baffle investigators to this day. 20. The unusual death of Charles C. Morgan. In March 1977, Charles Morgan, a Tucson financial manager, vanished for 3 days before reappearing, drugged, and claiming to be a secret agent. 2 months later, he disappeared again. A mysterious woman who identified herself as Green Eyes claimed he was safe. But 2 days later, Morgan was found dead in the desert, shot with his own gun. Strangely enough, he wore a bulletproof vest and had a $2 bill on him with names on it. His car held more guns, ammo, and even a tooth and a handkerchief. Green Eyes contacted the police and alleged mafia involvement, but the truth could never be uncovered. 19. The Case of Mary Reeser. In 1951, a bizarre fire took the life of 70-year-old Mary Reeser in Florida. While her body was almost entirely burned away, leaving only a foot untouched, the surrounding room remained strangely unscathed. The case immediately fueled debate about spontaneous human combustion. The extreme heat needed for such cremation should have devastated the apartment, yet newspapers and furniture sat undisturbed. Bewildered, investigators sought answers from Professor Krogman, a medical expert. Even he was speechless, stating, "Such complete cremation without fire damage? I've never seen anything like it." 18. The killing of Ken Rex McElroy. Ken Rex McElroy bullied an entire town for a year. He pillaged, assaulted, and raped with impunity, never facing trial. Then one day, he was shot. Despite the fact that the shooting occurred in front of several witnesses and involved no fewer than 2 separate guns, no one saw anything. Not one person spoke to the police, and no one phoned for an ambulance. This murder remains unsolved decades later, owing to the silence of everybody in the quiet community of Skidmore. 17. The Michelle Von Emster case. In 1994, Michelle Von Emster, a 25-year-old drifter, was found dead in the waters of San Diego's Point Loma Beach. Her body was horrifically mutilated, missing a leg and bearing bite marks, pointing to a shark attack. Experts quickly objected, noting the rarity of shark attacks in the area and the unusual bite marks on her body. It was even stranger that all of Emster's clothes had disappeared, despite reports that she was wearing a warm coat that chilly evening. Plus, her lungs were full of sand. 16. The Pollock Sisters. In 1957, tragedy struck the Pollock family when their daughters Joanna, 11, and Jacqueline, 6, were killed in a car accident. Florence Pollock became pregnant again just months later, and she gave birth to twin girls, Jillian and Jennifer. Then, a few years later, things got weird. Jillian and Jennifer asked for the toys that belonged to their deceased sisters, even though they'd never seen them. They started describing places they'd never visited and developed a noticeable fear of moving cars. The strange events caused John and Florence to have the startling realization that their twin daughters could be their lost children reincarnated. The strange occurrences eventually subsided, and the twins grew up to live ordinary lives. Their story, however, continues to captivate the world. 15. The murder of Betty Shanks. In 1952, 22-year-old Betty Shanks was found brutally murdered. Her death sparked the most extensive investigation Queensland had ever seen, but the killer managed to get away. Even confessions turned out to be dead ends. The chilling case resurfaced decades later when academics and journalists reignited the search for answers. One pointed the finger at a locksmith, another at a former soldier linked to another attempted abduction. Yet, despite these accusations, no concrete evidence could be found. The soldier suspect even disappeared before DNA testing. Betty's murder remains one of the oldest unsolved riddles in Brisbane. 14. The case of Jeanette DePalma. You would think that people would want to help solve the murder of a 16-year-old, right? Wrong. Jeanette DePalma's remains were discovered in 1972 when a dog uncovered a human arm in Springfield, New Jersey. She'd been missing for 6 weeks by that point. After discovering strange objects near the 16-year-old's body, rumors of occult rituals or involvement quickly surfaced. However, the investigation ran into a major stumbling block. No one wanted to speak with the police. They had no issue with sending them letters, though. The anonymous letters provided fragmented bits of information, including mentions of animal sacrifices and hints about Jeanette's potential behavioral changes, but nothing could bring police closer to solving the murder. Despite numerous theories and investigations, Jeanette's death remains unsolved. 13. The vanishing of Cynthia Anderson. Cynthia Anderson went missing on August 4, 1981, from the law firm in Toledo, Ohio, where she worked as a legal secretary. Her purse and car keys were missing, but her car remained parked outside, and eerily enough, the romance novel she'd been reading was left on her desk, open, at the scene where the heroine is kidnapped at knife point. Following her disappearance, an anonymous tip claimed that she was being held against her will in a cellar. However, the lead proved futile. It was only speculated that her employer's legal history, which included incarceration for drug-related offenses, was linked to her disappearance, but this theory, too, proved fruitless. 12. The Lead Masks Case. In August 1966, 2 men were discovered dead on a hill near Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. They were both wearing crudely constructed lead masks that covered their entire heads, save for little tiny eye slits. Police discovered a notebook with strange messages, empty water bottles, wet towels, and capsules near their bodies. Despite thorough autopsies that looked for signs of violence or struggle, the cause of death was never determined. Some believe the men were attempting to communicate with extraterrestrials, and the masks were for protection against alien light or radiation, or that they were experimenting with drugs. Whatever the case may be, their deaths have become part of Brazilian folklore and are frequently associated with the paranormal and UFO legends. 11. The Toynbee Tiles. Found in sidewalks across the globe, the Toynbee Tiles have sparked intrigue and speculation for decades. They frequently mention historian Arnold J. Toynbee and discuss bringing people back to life on Jupiter, the distant gas giant. Who put them there? Who knows? We don't even know what they represent. The most common message reads, Toynbee idea in Kubrick's 2001 resurrect dead on planet Jupiter. Despite years of investigation, the creator's identity and the true meaning of the messages remains unknown. 10. The Glico Morinaga case. On March 19, 1984, masked men kidnapped Katsuhisa Ezaki, president of Japan's Glico confectionery. Following his escape, an anonymous group calling itself the Monster with 21 Faces demanded ransom and threatened to poison Glico candies with cyanide. Despite intense searches, no tainted products were ever found. The group then targeted Morinaga candy, prompting product recalls after finding some laced packages. Shiga's police superintendent took his own life as pressure mounted to make arrests. The group vanished after making one more threat, leaving the 1984-85 Glico Morinaga case unsolved. 9. The death of Takako Konishi. The 2000s remain infamous for a deluge of unsolved mysteries, particularly in the death of Japanese tourist Takako Konishi, who made headlines in Minnesota in 2001 for all the wrong reasons. An autopsy confirmed hypothermia as her cause of death, though a strange social media-fueled rumor began making the rounds on the internet. The media claimed that her death was related to the film Fargo, and that Konishi went looking for buried money in the snow and simply succumbed to the elements. The sensationalized story was very quickly debunked, though the true reason for Konishi's disappearance and the details of her death are still unknown to this day. 8. The Princes in the Tower. In 1483, Edward V and his brother Richard, the young heirs to the English throne, disappeared from the Tower of London after their uncle Richard III became king. To this day, nobody knows what happened to them. Were they murdered on Richard's orders to secure his reign, imprisoned elsewhere, or did they escape? Despite historical analysis, DNA testing, and conflicting accounts, the truth remains unavailable. Their final fate, murder, imprisonment, or unknown outcome, remains one of the UK's biggest mysteries. 7. The disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi. In 1983, Emanuela Orlandi, the teenage daughter of a Vatican employee, disappeared in Rome. The mystery surrounding her disappearance has generated a number of theories, ranging from a simple kidnapping to something much more dreadful. Was she kidnapped for ransom? Was someone trying to silence her father with regards to Vatican secrets? Internal power struggles, financial scandals, and even Cold War espionage have all been put forward as possible explanations. And yet, despite decades of investigations, Emanuela's fate appears to be lost to time. 6. The abandoned village of Slievemore. Nestled on Ireland's Achill Island, Slievemore village was once filled with families practicing bullying, a nomadic lifestyle centered around seasonal living, before it was mysteriously abandoned. Was it a decline in the nomadic lifestyle, a shift in land ownership, or the scars of the Great Famine? Nobody knows for sure. Decades later, the moss-covered cottages stand sentinel, now only visited by tourists and archaeologists trying to understand the mystery. 5. The Cape Intruder. Okay, talk about creepy. In 2005, the Cape Intruder crept into people's homes at night in Cape Elizabeth, Maine, only to watch the residents sleep silently. Nothing was stolen, no one was harmed, but the nature of the intrusions left the town gripped in fear. The intruder vanished after a few months, despite several sketches and in-depth investigations, leaving only unsettling memories and unanswered questions. Was it a voyeuristic thrill, a cry for help, or something more? Let me know what you think in the comments. 4. The Investor Murders. In 1982, the Alaskan Coast Guard came across a brutal scene on board the fishing vessel Investor. Captain Mark Colthurst, his wife Irene, and their 2 children, Kimberly and John, as well as 4 deckhands were found brutally murdered in their sleep. Extensive investigations focused on motives such as conflict, robbery, and even drug smuggling. But 2 suspects and 2 trials later, no one had been convicted, and the case has been left unsolved even 42 years later. 3. The Bleeding House. On September 8th, 1987, Minnie Winston in Atlanta woke up to a horrifying scene. Blood covered her house, flowing down walls, oozing from the floor, and even seeping under the appliances. Police couldn't find any signs of forced entry or even a struggle, and while tests confirmed the blood was human, its source remained a mystery. Some believed the explanation would be found in plumbing issues, while others immediately decided it all boiled down to paranormal phenomena. Some even pointed the finger at the Winstons, who have maintained their innocence to this day. 2. The boy with no appetite. In 2013, Landon Jones, a healthy 12-year-old, experienced a seemingly ordinary bacterial lung infection. However, the aftermath was anything but. Landon lost all ability to experience hunger or thirst. Despite a barrage of medical tests, the reason behind Landon's condition remains an absolute mystery. Doctors think it might have something to do with changes in his hypothalamus, but nothing has been pinned down yet. Tagged loss of appetite syndrome, Landon's case seems to be unique, and the only one in the world. 1. The Black Flash of Provincetown. Between 1939 and 1945, panic gripped Provincetown, Massachusetts. A chilling entity known as the Black Flash tormented the town. First reported by children as a tall, black, disappearing figure, the sightings escalated. Adults claimed to see it make impossible leaps and heard horrifying laughter. Even police officers reported witnessing the Flash jump a 10-foot barrier. Many believe that it was nothing more than mass hysteria sparked by wartime anxieties or the series of elaborate pranks. The last documented encounter occurred in 1945 when a man confronted the figure, throwing boiling water at it. According to witnesses, the Black Flash screamed and disappeared into the darkness, never to be seen again. So, what's a mystery that's unsolved from your area? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. And if you like today's list, or you simply want to see some more of our videos in the same vein, be sure to check out our list of 25 mysterious real-life videos that can't be explained, where we cover everything from strange lights in the sky to mysterious disappearances. To go to that video now, simply click the link right here. It's right somewhere in this general, here, maybe, right there. I'm watching myself do this. Oh man, I look amazing doing that. Click it. Watch more stuff together. More mysteries.